morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Michael J. I am awesome. How are
It's
you?
it's another Tuesday at 9 a.m. live here on Facebook. We're also on Twitch, YouTube, and where else are we? We are
Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn and Twitter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so you look very festive. You got your hat on today.
Yes, I'm trying to get myself in the Christmas spirit because, I had a Christmas party today for a group that I belong to this morning at 7 a.m. And then I have teenagers, Michael J., and they can sometimes suck the life right out of every holiday. So I'm just like, we are going to love Christmas this year, darn it. So hence
No
the
matter
festive.
what, no matter what.
Yes. Our family definitely does we couldn't do family photos because we are real 100% of the time.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
wouldn't be able to do the cute little photo that people send out because it would be more like this.
yeah. Well, that might be a fun photo though.
Yes, it would be a very authentic, real Landis family photo, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, before we get into our topic today, we have been talking this whole month about grief share for those of you that might be surviving the holidays without a loved one this year, whether it's close or fresh for you or new. Let's we just put together a little video earlier this year and want to be able to make sure that we can connect you with Grief Share if that's something that you need for the holidays. For some of you coming up the holidays, they may be a little bit painful, especially for those of us that have experienced recent loss of a loved one, wondering how you might survive the weekend surrounded by Thanksgiving, either Christmas, and you are dreading these particular holidays coming up and knowing that everything has changed and happy memories from years past might be a little bit different. So we did want to point out that you can look for a local Grief Share group, and Grief Share has lots of opportunities for you to meet other people who are experiencing similar situations. And we want to give you four ways to kind of plan for this. And so number one is the plan and prioritize. Some tips around that might be decide ahead of time what you're going to do, where you're going to go for the holidays. Maybe that the time to start a new tradition. Maybe there's things that you've done in the past and you want to do something a little bit different and ask for help. But you definitely want to plan and prioritize and then pace yourself. No one expects you to be 100% where you're going to do where you're going to be, and then make sure you're taking care of yourself. That you're drinking plenty of water, you're you're eating regular meals, and you're maybe getting a little exercise, like heading out and walking. And then also think about people versus privacy. Are you wanting to be around a lot of people or not be around a lot of people? So kind of make some of those things, decide some of those things ahead of time, and then have an exit plan if you are going to go somewhere, and that you'll be able to leave when you want to, and then kind of take in perspective. There may be other people there that are grieving as well, and then sort of have a script, if you will, that you'll be able to share with people about kind of what's going on. So surviving the holidays and Grief Share, definitely know that we're praying for you. Let's surviving the holidays, Grief Share, and at griefshare.org, you can find a local group that may be able to help you out. So,
And I did need to
um,
point out something really quick to our viewers, Michael J. Michael J said, because he's very kind this way, he said, a video that we made to share, a brief share. But to set the record straight, Michael J was his own producer, his own writer, his own editor. I did absolutely zero to support him in the video making, and I think it is probably the best video that we've used in this entire podcast.
well,
So great job,
thanks,
Michael.
thanks, and for somehow it became timeless because
It did. It did. I mean, it's
we
so good.
we used it for the whole month. So
It's so appropriate this time of year. So thank
Yeah,
you for your commitment to our viewers and making sure they have resources. That's
yeah.
amazing.
So today we're going to be talking about financial planning or financial advisors, and kind of what is that, and what is a financial advisor. So and how does that work? And so we have a special guest today, and who we're going to bring on here, and his name is Sean Rogers. And Sean, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank
Um, and we'll get
Well,
settled
that's
here in a
fit. There
minute.
we go.
Yeah, we'll get settled here in a minute. So Sean is a certified financial planner, and he's also a good friend. And him and I have had the opportunity to be Southern transplants. So both of us were in Florida and then ended up here in Michigan. And so we're kind of Southern transplants. Although he's not too far away from home because he's from Ohio. Is that right?
That's right. Grew up in
That's right.
Cleveland. Yep.
Cleveland. Yeah.
Yep.
So there
Yep.
you go. So, so Sean, why would somebody want to work with well, who is a financial planner, and then why would we want to work with them?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of confusion. I think amongst the just typical consumer, a lot of people think that financial advisors or financial planning just completely revolves around investment management, and that is definitely one component to obviously anybody's financial life is gonna be their investments and the money that they are trying to put away to maybe use sometime in the future when they retire. In a stereotypical situation, people think, around the time that they might start collecting Social Security, they would also stop working and start living off of the resources that they've saved. And so that's certainly the investment management, trying to oversee those investments and help them grow as much as possible is certainly part of that overall equation. But what I found, I've been at this for about 15 years almost now. Um, I just realized that the process that people really need to go through is a lot different than what they would normally expect. And I think one of the big problems when it comes to financial decision making that people have is it's complex. There's are many components outside of investments, and they are all in their own little siloed areas. And so I've realized that oftentimes leads to like isolated decision making. So, Kate, I would imagine you help people a lot with property and casualty insurance. So, when people are making decisions, for example, around auto insurance or homeowners and the things that they should be doing in those spaces, sometimes people have a tendency to make pretty isolated decisions that are just specific to purchasing that auto insurance policy. They might be thinking a lot about the price, what's the monthly premium or the 6 month premium going to be, and um, cost is a factor, and then they might be looking at some of the other elements of that related to, well, if I get in an accident, how much will I have to pay out of my pocket, before the insurance company kicks in to cover me. And what I've found is over time, when people aren't really well financially organized, if they don't have uh, all of their kind of have their house in order in terms of financial organization, kind of knowing all the different things that they have, how each part works, that they're more likely to then go into this isolated financial decision making process where they just kind of make one decision at a time in its own little space without considering all the other factors of their planning in their life. So just as an example, when it comes to auto insurance, I think it's pretty important for people to consider uh, how much their income is, what their net worth is, how much liability exposure they have. For example, if they were to get in an accident and they were sued for a million or $2 or $5 million because they injured or killed someone, what does that how does that affect their financial life going forward? And so for some people, somebody that has a relatively small net worth and earns a lower level of income might have very, very different needs in terms of their liability protection than somebody that's earning several $100,000 a year or that has a really substantial net worth. So that's just an example. That's just one example. But so what I ended up realizing was this process, the problem of financial disorganization was a real issue. So to me, the real process of financial planning begins with just getting financially organized. Literally, either in a physical manner or now in a digital manner. It's obviously become much easier to get digitally organized. But to be able to go through a process where you actually collect and gather all of your financial documents and information and put it all in one place and have it organized in a way where at any given moment you'd have access to anything and everything that you need so that you can make more coordinated financial decisions. So I don't know if you have any questions or thoughts on that before I uh, move on, but I have some further thoughts on that. But
I really like what you said, Sean, about it being a holistic plan and getting your financial situation more like it should be visible. And a lot of people know a little bit about this of their own things. I think we're all guilty of that, right? Like you just kind of assume what you have, and then when you um, get it all laid out in front of you, when I walk my clients through our fact finding process to talk about those, what is your liability exposure? They're, oh, I didn't even realize. And it's because a lot of it they just put on the back burner and they don't look at it and they don't review it on an annual basis. So they don't know where they stand. Even with their 401k, they just get that letter from Edward Jones or whomever it is and they just throw it in their file box and never
yeah,
look at it. So they're just like, oh, it's fine.
yeah, that's what I refer to as the financial junk drawer,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the difference is, do you have a financial junk drawer, or do you have a cohesive, coherent, organized way that you've got everything kind of set up where you really know what you have, how it works, why you have it. Like there's a real understanding of that. And I think at this day and age, the financial system has gotten so complex to demand. So like take somebody that's working full time, that's married with kids, right? Like to demand that they have the knowledge that's necessary to get organized, because that is its own beast in and of itself. And then once you're organized, to actually go through some kind of process to really try to make optimal financial decisions. I mean, it's a lot to ask of somebody that's not doing this every single day, you know.
And so once we decide that we want to know that we need a financial planner, how is it that that we go about picking out a financial advisor?
Yeah, so I think there are it's a large industry. There are many people that are involved in the financial services industry. I was just doing just looking at some statistics, and it looks like there's somewhere maybe in the neighborhood of 6 to 700,000 registered representatives in the country. Which, when I say registered representatives, those are people that are essentially licensed to probably advise and or sell financial products, and so there's a lot of people in the pool. And then what I think is important is understanding what your particular situation and what your needs are as an individual. um, I guess to take a step back in terms of what I believe the actual what is proper financial planning look like, because I think there are many people in the industry that don't necessarily follow a process that I would consider to be actual financial planning, because a lot of the industry is set up to be very transactional, and it's more about particular products being sold than it is about going through some kind of very client centric process to help them figure out exactly what they should be doing in every aspect of their financial life. So when I think of financial planning, I think of the financial organization piece. Like, let's just make sure that we understand what you have and how it works and why you have it. And then the next part of the process, which is kind of an extension of financial organization, is really starting to build some basic financial statements. Okay, so to me, the starting point would be a cash flow statement or a budget of some kind. We would have to really understand whether you're still working and saving for retirement, or whether you're actually in retirement and drawing from your resources. There has to be a clear sense of what are the cash flows coming in, what are the cash flows going out, and then how much surplus or deficit is left at the end of each month or at the end of each year, right? Like, in order for somebody to make financial decisions, you have to understand that basic equation. And again, similar to the financial junk drawer, it's like everybody knows that they have income and expense, but are they really doing some detailed breakdown of that to really understand what's happening? And the answer is generally no. For those that are saving for the future, or that are in that phase of life where they're working and earning an income and they hope to not have to work at some point in the future, the most important part of the equation in that financial statement is their savings rate, right? So how much is actually being put away to help them build resources for the future, and how much of a surplus is left at the end of each month or year. So if somebody, for example, is saving, 5% into their 401k because that's what they need to get their match, and then they also have a surplus of 5%, then theoretically their savings rate is 10%, right? And then maybe their employer is also putting 5% away from them. So maybe their true savings rate is like 15% of their total income. But that's a super important part of the process to do, because if you don't understand what's happening from a cash flow standpoint, you don't understand what your savings rate is, then that's the one thing that you can control. We can't really control how your investments perform in the market, right? Like if the market goes up or down, especially if it's happening systemically, there's not that much that we could do about that. But what we can do is control our cash flow and control our savings rate. So to me, that's critical. And then the next part would be your balance sheet, looking at assets and liabilities, building a statement that really breaks that down in detail so that we can understand really the nature of what you have going on there. And then the income statement and the balance sheet kind of come together, because if you have positive cash flow, then any positive cash flow that you have is going to actually land on the balance sheet. It's either going to add to your assets or subtract from your liabilities. So being able to understand how those two kind of documents work together and are coordinated is really your starting point. Then from there you get into a modular process where you can go and say, okay, risk management, right? Because I always start with protection first. So once somebody's financially organized, we have their financial documents in order, we go to protection. We say, what are the risks that could harm you financially? You could be sued, right? So there's the liability exposure that we talked about earlier, related to a car accident or a slip and fall at your house. Let's say that you have a pool in your backyard and there's something happens there liability wise. Then another part would be loss of property, right? So home, auto, losses of your physical property. Then from there, for most people, it just goes to, well, what if I lost my ability to earn an income due to sickness or injury? What if I lost my income because I passed away? How would that affect other people that are counting on me that I care about? So the risk management conversation really, to me, has to come first. You want to be focused on protecting what you already have and what you expect to have in the future.
And then how would we go about you know paying somebody like you? How does somebody like you get paid? Is there a proper
Yeah.
way to get paid, or is there a good way to get paid, or is there things that we should look out for?
Yeah, so there's many, there are several different models out there in terms of how financial advisors work with their clients and get paid. Um, I think I would set aside the compensation method only. I would defer that conversation to, first of all, am I getting proper planning, right? Is the advisor that I'm working with really doing a thorough, comprehensive job? Because if that person, for example, and I mentioned seeing some data on the industry, so 600,000 or 700,000 registered representatives in the industry, about a third of those, a little bit less than a third, are certified financial planners, right? So to become a certified financial planner, you have to meet certain requirements related to education, experience, and ethics. It's just kind of like a filter that you could throw out there and say, okay, I've got to select from 600,000 people. About 200,000 of them are now in my actual pool that I would want to consider working with. That might be a good place to start. But as long as they're doing a very thorough, comprehensive job and they're competent, then the payment mechanisms, the way that they're compensated, start to matter a little bit less. But to answer your question, there are basically three different main. I mean, there are more models than this, but there are three main buckets. The first is just commission, right? So you could work with an advisor that is licensed to sell insurance and/or investment products, and they might not charge you any fees at all. But anytime that they help you to buy a financial product, they'll be compensated by that company that sells that product. So the issue with that especially in the past, I mean, the industry's been pushing towards more transparency, but the issue with that is that a lot of people really didn't know how their advisor got paid, how much they got paid when they'd be buying financial products. And there's a famous quote from a man named Charlie Munger. He's the right hand man for Warren Buffett, and the quote is, "You show me the incentive, and I'll show you the outcome." Right. So, if there's a financial product that a certain representative has access to, and that product pays twice as much commission as another financial product, even if the financial product that pays less commission is better, where's the incentive, right? So to me, that's a really important thing to consider. Again, I would probably say that if you're working with a certified financial planner and they're extremely thorough and they're really doing true planning for you, and they're paying, the way that they get paid is through commissions, it's not the end of the world. But I think it's important to be aware of that as a consumer, and I think that the advisor should be pretty forthcoming and letting you know, like, I'm going to help you to put this product in place. This is how much I would be compensated for it. If I were to offer you alternatives, this would be my compensation for those products. You know what I mean? I think that it can be done where there's enough transparency there that even if it's a commissioned business model, that it doesn't have to necessarily be evil, right? But I think I think there's room for potential issues there.
So know what you're paying for.
So there's that. There's
Yeah.
that. So there's the commission model. Then there's another model that is basically commission plus fee, where the advisor can sell products, but they could also charge you to do hourly financial planning, where you hire them one meeting at a time, or they might allow you to take them on for a project, and they would charge you a project fee, or they might manage investments on your behalf, and you would just pay a fee directly to them to manage those investments for you, but they're not actually receiving any third-party compensation, right? So that's like a blended model where it's a combination of commissions and fees that are directly paid to the advisor. And then the third version that a lot of advisors in the industry are kind of thinking is the purest would be called fee only, where somebody is providing you with all the advice, even around insurance and things like that, but they are not selling those products and they're not getting paid commissions. They're only getting paid directly by their clients. So there's just a higher level of transparency there and a higher probability of not having conflicts of interest. But there still are conflicts of interest in every model, because if I'm an investment advisor, let's say, and I'm a fee only advisor, I don't earn any commissions, but I manage investments. And then you come to me and you have $500,000 and you say, Sean, I have $500,000. Should I invest this money or should I pay off my debt with this money? Well, if I'm the advisor that earns an income from managing investments, and you take half of that or all of it and pay off debt with it, now I have no income, right? So there's always a conflict of interest potentially in almost any model. It's just a question of how far, like, there's a spectrum of how much more likely conflicts of interest are to be a problem. So
And
I don't know if
whether
that's helpful.
and whether or not you're going to live for today or live for tomorrow, right? So are you
Well,
building a client? You're building a client for today or tomorrow.
right.
So Kate,
From an advisor perspective, yes.
questions, Kate.
Oh, okay. So I have tons of questions that aren't necessarily related to the fee schedule or not, because I think it's like you said, if you trust your advisor, either model works as
Yeah.
long as you have a good relationship with the person who is working on your behalf. Because very similar in insurance, all insurance advisors, like, unless you're a CSR or something, it's 100% commission.
Right.
So, but I also take great pride in the fact that I'm not going to sell you a product that I don't think you need. Right.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't serve me any good. I would
Right.
lose my clients. They'd be like, why are you selling me this junk? I don't need it.
Right.
So, it's really important that you work with someone that has that relationship with you, and you're not just giving someone, here's my $500,000, have fun.
Right.
As long as you're working with someone you know and trust, and there is that level of transparency, it really does matter. So if I were to work with you, Sean, are you like, I know one thing that people consider is, am I a am I a high risk averse type person, or am I a, hey, let's see how much money we can make the fastest we can make it. You
Right.
know, they're all over the spectrum, right?
Right.
So do you tend to work with clients who are more risk averse, or do you have a combination of clientele? What's your kind of philosophy there?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I attract necessarily high risk takers or really risk averse people. It's more, um, the kind of clients that I attract are people usually that want to do this really thorough process. And then
Mhm.
once we get to their investments, by the time that we get there, because my process is kind of, it's thorough. So in my opinion, investments should be the last thing that's worked on. I think that for me, it's basically like financial organization, financial statements, insurance and risk management, estate planning, income taxes, retirement savings in terms of not the actual investment part, but like modeling out what should your savings rate be and how much would that be likely to help you to have in the future that you could draw an income from. So there's this whole process. And then at the end, we'd start making decisions around investments. And by then, I've learned, I know the clients very well, right? I've gotten to know their personalities. Usually, they've kind of hinted to me at least, kind of where they're at in terms of a risk appetite. And then when we get there, we can then start to lay out like, okay, well, what are your financial goals? When Because each financial goal that you have is it has a funding timeline, right? So let's say that somebody is saving to make a down payment on a house and they want to do that in 3 years. Those are dollars that should not be invested in a riskier or aggressive way, right? Over a 3 year period of time, a lot can happen for the better or the worse. Now, it could work out where somebody invests extremely aggressively with a 3 year time horizon, and they bought Tesla and it doubled twice. You know, that's possible, but it's also possible that the opposite could happen, right? So to me, really, when it comes to risk, yes, the client, their attitude about it matters a lot, because if they were to invest in a way that was very aggressive, and then they got really scared because they thought the market was going to go down, or it did actually start to decline, and then they sell, so they've lost like 10 or 20%, and then they sell everything, and then they sit on the sidelines, and then the market fully recovers, and they missed all of that, right? So that's called a permanent loss of capital. So it's my job to help people avoid having permanent losses of capital, and that means that if they're going to invest in a way where they're subject to potential market losses short term, that they really have to be super disciplined. Like, they have to be almost robotic in their mindset around this stuff and say, okay, like, I made these decisions in a very like organized, methodical way, and I chose to own these investments. And I know that I don't need to use these for 10 or 20 or 30 years, so I'm just going to stay the course, and I'm going to keep on. The market's down right now, so I'm going to keep adding to that portfolio while things maybe are less expensive. So there's a whole mindset that I try to help people build around that, but I don't coach them into taking excessive risk if it's truly not what they're comfortable with,
Mhm.
you know? So,
So our time goes by so fast, and
yes.
so there's a lot to unpack here that's going on. But Sean, so if somebody wanted to reach you, you they could reach you through Calendly, Calendly,
Calendly, yes.
yeah, Calendly link at RWMS, and they could schedule time to meet with you and find out what they need to get organized and do that. If you are just looking for something over the holidays to get you kind of organized, I recommend the final chapter. It's an end of life organizational planning tool, and it's by my good friend in Tampa, Suze Patrick. And this is literally a workbook where you can walk through and fill out different information and a way to help yourself get organized so that you could meet with that financial advisor, or even somebody like Kate, who is insurance. And this book would help you be able to put all that information into one place. So, Sean, thank you so much for being a part of MJ and Kate
You bet.
51st episode. Wow, we did it. 2023. So
You've arrived.
we've
Yeah.
arrived. We've made that decision, and we stuck for it for a whole year, 52 episodes, and that's awesome. Any parting words, Kate?
Yeah, it's been a great ride, Michael J. We did it. Thank you so much, Sean, for coming on today too. It was very insightful.
Yeah,
And
you're
you
welcome.
know, as with talking to any CFP, you could probably spend hours. So
Yeah,
thank you for sharing your time with us because I know it's very valuable.
you're welcome. Thank you.
So, and thank you to those who have been part of our audience. Kate, we did have our Twitch watcher join us today. We always have that one person from Twitch that shows up. They showed up midway through there. Sean, we've been having a regular, we believe, from the Philippines because they've actually had a conversation with us.
Okay.
So we've got as our one known international advisor or watcher.
Yes.
But if you need an advisor, you can get a hold of Sean Rogers, and we will see you the next time that we see you. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.